Good afternoon, Dion, and welcome back. Thanks for joining me on short notice. Yeah, I had a short gap, and I thought we can pick up where we left off after our second episode. Now, the previous episodes we discussed on how a loan operator started and how the concept got put together, and we briefly touched on why teamwork, etc. But over the last 2 or 3 years, there's a hell of a lot of common questions that gets asked a lot, especially guys that, let's say, they fear that they might lose out on a session. Because remember, I think we said we commit for 12 months, and now the guy commits for 12 months. But what happens in that 1 month that he can't make the session? How does he get around that?
Okay. Yeah, it's more than just a quick answer. Obviously in Gauteng we run a larger group of sessions, so we'll have 4, 5, or 6 teams running. Whereas in KZN and Durban, that's not the case. So the guys in Gauteng obviously have the option to, if they are missing a session on their team, they can slot in with one of the other teams um, on a day that is suitable for them there. So missing a session is not really an issue to that extent. They can actually catch up on a module. The Cape Town and KZN guys, it's a bit more difficult because there's usually not a parallel team running with them, and they have to wait for us to actually put a session together for them that they can catch up. Even though we allow it, because life happens, we prefer that the guys stick to their sessions and stick to the calendar. When you join the program, you get the whole year program ahead of time, so you can actually plan your year accordingly. And we stick to those dates diligently. We don't move a date. The only time that we may not do a specific session is when there's like lightning and thunder on the range, and we cannot shoot. Then we have to postpone that session or make another plan. But other than that, we stick to the date uh, as gospel. We don't change the date. So there's really no reason for somebody not to be, not to attend a session, because they get the calendar ahead of time and they can actually then plan the 12 months accordingly. But life does happen, so yeah, there is an option for catching up sessions.
Now, tell me the sessions you speak of. Obviously, we cover a whole big basis, or we try and encapsulate the core of being your own first responder. Can you maybe just run me through the different sessions, well, more or less as it stands at the moment? Like, what can a typical new loan operator expect when he joins loan operator? What is his first 6 sessions, as example?
Okay, let me answer it like this. Interwoven into the program, there's segments of or elements of what makes you a good first responder, or a good self-defense expert, or a good person to be able to defend your life. And these segments are obviously stuff like fitness, mindset, and then physical capability, the tactical or the technical aspect. And that once again is broken into firearms, unarmed combat, and bladed weapons. So we look at those 3 aspects. So all these elements are then addressed throughout the program. The first 6 months of level 1, year 1, the first 6 months, it's what we refer to as phase 1 of the course. In that period, you will do all the basics. So we will teach you the basics of fitness regime. We will, help you adjust your mindset accordingly. We will teach you the basic fundamentals of firearms, how to use your handgun properly better, the basics of kit and equipment, the basics of medical, how to stop bleeding, how to control bleeding, and so on and so forth. And that then basically builds you up over the first 6 months so that you are now proficient in understanding how your equipment works, how you need to handle and work that equipment, and then also it has built on a specific skill set. So by now you'll be able to work the tourniquet to stop bleeding. You'll be able to pack chest or put a chest seal on. You'll be able to pack wounds. You'll understand some basic carry techniques in case of you have to get somebody out of the way of incoming fire. You'll have a basic understanding of or a better grasp of a fitness regime and program, and a set structure according to that. And then obviously you'll have a good solid foundation on your firearm with regards to the fundamentals of shooting, with regards to the equipment, holsters, belts, mag pouches, and then stuff like shooting position, and being able, being more proficient with your firearm in that three-dimensional environment while we haven't really put up pressure or a lot of pressure on you at this stage. This is a learning phase. This is where we teach you all the basics. So that's phase one. During phase two of the course, which is the next 6 months, we will then start adding what we refer to as chaos in main. That's where we'll start adding pressure onto you. So that's when people start wearing bulletproofs for added stress inoculation. That's where the instructors will create specific scenarios for you, where we will use sound, noise, smoke, and so on and so forth to simulate chaos and stress on you, to see if you can now apply all those basics in a more stressful environment under pressure.
So if I understand you correctly, the first 6 months we hammered down on basics, on fundamentals, on mindset, on getting you into a habit of looking after yourself, maybe get more active, etc. Now, is there any measure that we measure ourselves with, like from month 1 to month 6?
Yes, what we've done, there's two types of measures. So what we are busy doing, okay, let me just backpedal a bit. So after you finished each module, there's obviously what we refer to as a homework session. That just gives you access on the Lone Operator portal, which is a dedicated portal only for lone operators, which you register and log on. That then gives you access to all the video material and notes pertaining to that specific module. So if you've covered fundamentals today, we've made a lot of videos about the fundamentals, how to do dry firing, understanding, shot placement, and so on and so forth, and a lot of notes going with that. So you can now refer back to your notes. That means you can go to the range, go to the session, the practical session, and you don't need to stand there and take notes. We've already got the notes written down, set up for you. You can always refer back to the videos and so on. So you've basically got access to the full Lone Operator online course as well when you join the normal Lone Operator. So when we start, you'll do a shoot, and then at the 6th module, then you'll do another shoot, and we can compare your progress from day 1 to month 6. We will then give you feedback and tell you, listen, which areas need work and which areas are okay. And we will refer you to specific modules that you need to go and revisit, maybe redo again. The same with the fitness. We've got what we call the fitness accountability group, where you get a printed sheet. We'll teach you how to stay accountable to yourself. You get a printed sheet that you need to do a specific program, which is broken up into 2-week spaces. And you just do that. You do your movement exercises, your drills and stuff, whatever you decide. If you want to go and gym, if you want to, cycle, if you want to jog, that's up to you. But it's all about staying accountable. so that in 6 months' time, when you do the evaluation test, you can then actually measure your progress. You can say, well, I've started here and now I'm there, or I've started here and nothing happened, I'm just there. And then you can start asking yourself those odd questions, did I put in the work or not? So yes, definitely we do measure progress. But then also on a continuous basis, the instructors will, during each module, if they spot something that you're missing out on, then they will address that and they will tell you to fix that. So it's a continuous process as well.
So in the first 6 months, I start from 0, and after 6 months, I'd be able to see, okay, sure, my shots went from this to a nice grouping, or I'd be able to see I went from doing 1 pull-up to 10 pull-ups, or whatever the case might be. Now, the second half of the course then, is that then, are we now honing in on the skills that we learned in the first 6 months? Is that, if I understand you correctly, or is there a little bit more added drama, like, let's say, fighting around vehicles, or, I don't know, carbine? Do we still run carbine in Lone Operator?
Okay, carbine, I'll
That's
get back to now.
double question, I think.
So during the next 6 months, we obviously start doing scenario training. So, but there's also another learning phase. So during phase 1, we've now covered the basics and so on. During the second phase, that's where we now start touching on CQB and vehicles and so on and so forth. So just to clarify on CQB.
For those that don't know, CQB is close quarter battle, am I correct?
Yeah, it's close quarter battles, and it's a difficult abbreviation. It's like TACMET. Okay. Apparently TACMET, as the name TACMET, has got a trademark on it. Apparently, that's what I hear. But if anybody can give me another name, I'll give it another name. But it's medical applications under tactical conditions. So I don't know, what to call it, MedTac.
Now we see CQB.
So CQB is basically close quarter battles, but in some instances, people use CQB for unarmed close quarter. So you and me fighting, and that's also because that's close quarter battles. In this case, it means fighting in and around structures or buildings.
Okay.
And the focus and the emphasis being on you in your house. And there's 2 ways that we approach this. So the first one is offensive CQB. Offensive being meaning, and on that stage, there's also the talk in the industry that you can't teach this stuff to civilians. Okay, that's nonsense. That's bullshit. You can, and you have to teach stuff like this to civilians, specifically South Africans. Okay. You go out, I'm at work, I come home late at night, I've been working overtime. My wife and my kids are alone in my house. I know they're alone there, and I come there and the door is slightly open. The dogs are nowhere to be found. I know something is wrong there. Any reasonable man is going to go into that house. He's not going to wait for the police or the security company or whatever. He's going to go into that house. I would rather that person know how to enter a house correctly, tactically, how to approach a corner, how to approach a doorway, how to handle the hallway in the correct sense than not, or rather than just, run and rush in there and get himself killed. So that's for me, and that's for us. We see that as offensive CQB. That means I have to go into the house. Defensive CQB is the opposite. Myself, my wife, my kids, we're sleeping, and 2 o'clock in the morning, we hear the front window break. Now I know there's perpetrators in my home. I still have to deal with the doorway. I still have to deal with the corner. I still have to deal with the hallway. I still have to deal with all that CQB elements. But now I've got myself and my family inside my house. Once again, I would rather have that this normal civilian know how to deal with that stuff than not. Just walk around the corner and get shot in the face. If he knows how to approach a corner correctly, how to place himself and use cover versus concealment and so on and so forth, and know how to shoot around a corner and lean around a corner and so on, you've got a much better chance of survival. So that's the CQB that we teach. It's not to teach Navy SEAL teams or SWAT teams or entry teams. This is for me and myself in and around my house. Okay. Or I'm walking in the shopping mall. Shots are fired. I'm still dealing with corners. I'm still dealing with walls. I'm still dealing with stairs. I'm still dealing with escalators. Nothing changes. I'm attacked at my office. It's the same story. Nothing changes. So yes, CQB for us, it's a very crucial course for all civilians to do. It's not something just SWAT teams do.
Now, what excites me is that you only covered one module of what's in the second phase. Am I correct? That's all you chatted about now.
Yeah.
So it seems like we're going to have a lot more time on our hands to maybe unpack the second phase a bit more. Because correct me if I'm wrong, at CQB, it's fighting around vehicles. There's open hands or knife.
Yes.
I think I'm missing another one or two, and then there's a CS session at the end. So I really think we should unpack a bit more in our fourth episode for that matter. Am I correct?
That's fine. Yeah, we can do that.
So, Dion, if you don't mind, I'm going to shoot, and then I'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks.